Hey guys, this is Alec from the Bentral podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. For starters, it's free. Who doesn't like free stuff? I know I do. No need to invest into $1,000 soundboards or hundreds of dollars into microphone equipment. Anchor provides you with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Additionally, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership using ads like this one. It's simple and easy to use and everything you'll need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started today. Welcome into the Debate Bentral podcast. I'm your host, Alec. Today I'm joined with Evan and Charlie. Today we don't have Swift. He's celebrating his dad's birthday. We haven't been able to record in a while. We had some technical difficulties a little while back trying to record an MJ doc, and Zoom kind of messed some things up for us. So we weren't able to post it. So now we're coming out with something, even though it's a little delayed. Charlie, you've had mono. I just moved into a new place, so along with quarantine, things have just been busy for all of us. So today we're going to come at you with a pretty loaded show. I guess it's going to be a little bit all over the place, but we'll get through. Charlie, how are you doing with the mono? Luckily, it's not Corona.
Yeah, luckily it wasn't Corona. So a couple weeks ago, it was the day of the draft, and we did the live show. I was feeling like kind of soreness, and then like all of a sudden I was like getting like strep throat symptoms. So I'm like, all right. I mean, I haven't been around anyone that usually gets strep throat like once a year anyway. So I couldn't go into any places because like they're not accepting people with a fever. So we did like telehealth, which is just completely bizarre. And they're like, we called a clinic, and they're like, all right, we'll send you a prescription of some antibiotics. Then I got that, but like 5 days later, I'm like, wow, I still have strep throat symptoms. I'm like, this is not getting any better. So then I had like a parking lot doctor's office visit, and then they're like, all right, we'll test you for corona, and then we'll test you for mono. And then they're like, oh wait, I also forgot to share that I have like this breakout of like rash, like all over my like spots all over my body. And he's like, oh, so you probably have mono, 90% chance. And then did the test, and long story short, got mono, even though I haven't been in contact with anyone in like 2 months. So
Did you have to do the like nose swab thing for Corona?
yeah, so I think that's what I would have done. But then once he found out that I had the breakout like rash, he was like, we're gonna test mono first because that's like high likelihood that you have
Gotcha.
it.
Are you
Because when you're on the prescription, when you're on the antibiotics that I was on, and you break out in a rash, that probably means
are
that you have
you
mono.
feeling better? Are you kind of getting over it at this point?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm feeling better. Like I'm not like sick. Like I don't have fevers. I'm not just like getting chills and like achiness. It's just like I just have like a strep throat symptoms where it like hurts to swallow when I wake up and stuff.
So
But I'm
so
getting
I've
getting
been
better.
busy, moving in, just got moved into my apartment and everything, settled down. I started work back up again today. Um, you've had mono, like you've said. And then Evan's just been making TikToks. He's been kind of popping off on the TikTok game.
Yeah, dude, I've just been, like you guys said, kind of picking my butt, just hanging out, kind of going viral on TikTok, if you want to say that. But yeah, not a whole lot's been going on for me. So
Any
just kind of hanging
new
out.
any new TikToks
Um,
ideas?
no, I mean, I've just been brainstorming. I got some of my notes, but other than that, I'm just let them do work, like over like the span of 3 days, it's just been like I don't know, it's just been interesting because you don't think they're going to go up in views, and then you go for like 4 more days and it just like slowly goes up like 2,000 views, 3,000 views. So yeah, I don't really know what's happening with it, but
Nice.
it's been interesting.
Well, speaking of interesting, I have, before we get into sports and stuff, I have an interesting story from work today. I already filled Evan in on this.
That's
Yeah.
office.
So for people that don't know, technically I'm going to be doing sales, but right now they have me working in their warehouse, which is part of their rotation, and I totally get why they're doing it, but the job essentially sucks. So right now it sucks. But today we were, just hanging out in the warehouse, doing our job like usual, and I had to take a phone call because I needed to talk to my recruiter about some Corona stuff and how we're moving through and just things about that nature and just kind of catching up. And I'm outside of the warehouse in what they call the yard, and I'm on the phone, and this guy that I've never seen, not wearing our company's like logo or anything, he's just wearing like all black, comes walking out. He's got a soda in his hand, and he does like the army salute to me. Like I can't make this up. And so I'm on the phone and I kind of give him like just the normal like dude head nod sort of thing, like yeah, exactly,
Like, what up,
exactly.
bro?
And he kind of mumbled something and kind of started walking off. And he gets like halfway from this garage area where I was standing to the gate, which leaves the yard. And then one of my coworkers comes running out and he's like, "Get the hell out of here. Like, you're not supposed to be here." And then at that point, I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I come to find out this dude is tweaked out on like bath salts or some sort of drug. Just walked his way in the warehouse without anyone noticing. And he's like deep in the warehouse, just roaming around. And they kick him out. Well, we're kind of talking about it, and then we start getting back to work. And then all of a sudden, he reappears in the warehouse, and we're kind of like, where did he come from again? And he walks to like this locker area and pulls out a backpack. Apparently he brought a backpack in, put it in the lockers, and he kept like repeating to us like, "I'm supposed to be here," and he just saying all this weird stuff. So he was just cracked out, and it was honestly the weirdest experience I've ever had at work for any job. So on top of moving in, quarantine, crackheads breaking into work, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, that's for sure.
I got a couple questions about this dude. So I'm picturing with the warehouse that you're talking about. I'm just picturing like the warehouse in the show The Office. So like, I'm like, is there just like a front door that's just unlocked, or like how did he get in
Honestly,
the second
okay,
time?
the warehouse in the office, it's a lot bigger than that, but that's a pretty good comparison. Like you just have shelves full of stuff and forklifts driving around, and
It's like the size of
no,
Costco.
not that big. Probably the size of like, I'd say it's about the size of like a Hy-Vee, maybe a little smaller. And but like,
All right.
I can't remember in the office if they have like a garage that kind of opens up, because we have something very similar to that. And we just leave it open all day because you have forklifts driving in and out. And I think he literally just walked through the gate and through the garage. No one saw him come in, and then he was just roaming around the warehouse. It was the most bizarre thing.
That's just, I guess that's what you get when you're working in the city.
3 weeks into your first job, so who knows what else is coming.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's been crazy, that's for sure, and it's been nice, kind of moved out now. How does it feel for you, Evan?
I don't really know. I just thought it was funny that mom and dad were like, we haven't received a text or a phone call from Alec. I'm like, I think he's doing just fine. That's why.
I also live like 20 minutes away. So it's
right.
But anyway, so something I really wanted to do for this show, and I was, I have a lot of time at work to kind of think about these sort of topics. And one that came to my mind was dark horse candidates for the MVP in the NFL this year. Any of you can start first, but I have a really good case for someone. I don't know who Evans is, and I don't know who Charlie's is. They don't know who mine is. So,
I want
Yeah,
Alec to go
you
first.
start us
Okay.
off.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, Alec, you
Perfect.
came up with a
Okay.
segment. I want to
So
hear it.
can I cut you off real quick? Actually, sorry, I was a bit away from the mic there, but Alex said he wouldn't let me guess, but I want Charlie and I to both guess just for shits and giggles. Charlie, do you have any guesses? Because mine have been, for some reason, Tom Brady. Don't know why. Maybe I don't know if that's really a dark. I don't know if that's a dark horse,
Yeah,
but I feel like it kind of is.
I
let
don't
me
know, Alec. When you say dark horse, like, do you mean like probably won't win, or do you mean like top 10 to 15 of like MVP
like
odds?
I guess that's up to whoever.
Just someone you wouldn't expect to.
When
Someone
you
just
think
don't
of
expect
the
to win
MVP
it.
of the NFL, the names that kind of come to mind are, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Yeah, those kinds of guys.
Lamar.
I don't see Lamar or Mahomes winning it this year. I think if there's someone that kind of comes out of nowhere and puts up, Mahomes could put up better stats, but if someone makes kind of a wow case that, takes everyone back, that's what I think of as like the dark horse, I guess. But
Okay.
let me start by prefacing a lot of things here, and
Okay.
as I get closer, you might start to figure out who it is until I actually say who it is. So
I'm interested.
Here are some stats. So I went back and I looked at the MVPs for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Okay. So since 2006, there's been two players that weren't quarterbacks to win MVP. And that was LaDainian Tomlinson and Adrian Peterson. Those are the only two.
Both from our teams, Vikings and
it's
Chargers,
perfect.
baby.
But everyone else has been a quarterback. So, I mean, you're talking about Tom Brady, Manning, Brady again, Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Brady again, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Okay. Pretty elite company, but the trend shows it's probably going to be a quarterback. So mine's a quarterback. But then I wanted to look at another stat because this quarterback is kind of in a loaded division. And I wanted to pull some more context on how he could win it because he's not on what is deemed as the best team in the division. So then I went back and I looked at Super Bowl appearances because these two teams in this division have made it to the Super Bowl in the past like 6 years. Actually, 3 of them. So San Francisco made it last year. I don't think San Francisco. I don't think they're going to be the best team in that division. I think it's going to be Seattle. The Rams, you saw what happened when they made it to the Super Bowl. They weren't very good this last year. Did they even make the playoffs? I'm trying to think. Okay. Then you had the Eagles and the Patriots. Okay. The Eagles they're okay, but they kind of play in a crappy division, and they
just horrible secondary basically, and they're just kind of shit.
Exactly. They're not Super Bowl caliber. Then you go to New England versus the Falcons. You saw what happened to the Falcons. They're in pretty much full rebuild at this point. Carolina and Denver, so on and so forth. All these teams that have lost in the Super Bowl, it's hard to bounce back. Okay. So I'm knocking the Niners. I don't think they're going to be what they were last year. They could be good. Personally, I think in this division, I think the Rams are going to be the worst team. I think Seattle's number 1. And I think San Francisco is going to be number 3, which means I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be the second best team, which leads me to my dark horse MVP, Kyler Murray.
Yep. Right when you said I don't know, but like you said, I was just looking at MVP odds and I saw Kyler and I heard you say you're talking about all the teams in that division and I didn't hear the Cardinals. I'm like, all right, this has got to be Kyler because, I mean, the past couple of years, I mean, you saw last year with Lamar Jackson with the explosive running helped his case, and I think Kyler with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins could just explode this year, at least fantasy wise. Which I mean, that has a lot to do with MVP because MVP is just about half team success, half
and that's
fantasy
like
stats,
you mentioned, the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, I think that's his CeeDee Lamb from college. And Kenyon Drake's there. You have Christian Kirk. You still have Fitz. They added an offensive lineman in the draft. I think he was their second pick, and it ended up being a third round pick, but it was their second pick. You add Isaiah Simmons to the defense. The defense gets better. Mm-hmm. I don't think Kyler's going to have to, play from behind as much, and the defense might be able to pick up some of the slack. But I don't think, Kyler didn't post amazing stats this last year. I'm ballparking here, but it was like 3,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 7 picks, something like that. And I think he's going to be a lot better than that. I think if he is somewhere in the range of 4,200 yards, 30 to 35 touchdowns and 8 to 10 picks, plus some rushing yards and some rushing touchdowns, and they finish, 9-7, 10-6. I don't think it's inconceivable to see him as the MVP. I have a hard time seeing people voting Mahomes again because he would win it every year. I don't think Lamar Jackson will win it again. In fact, I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to be healthy the whole season. I think at some point his rushing style is going to, take a toll on him. And Kyler can sling it. And I think him and Cliff Kingsbury, second year, I think they're going to get better. I think they're going to be damn good.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I'm going to go same division, Russell Wilson. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a dark horse because, I think he was like an MVP candidate last year, kind of like.
He's always in the mix.
Yeah, he's always in the mix, but he's a guy. Okay, you say they're going to be the number one team in that division. Okay. He doesn't turn the ball over. He threw 5 interceptions last year. He threw over 4,000 yards. He threw over 30 touchdowns. And he can win games.
And DK is going to get better.
And DK is going to get better.
I mean, he takes like a bottom tier roster, and not bottom tier, but usually it's in the middle, and then he takes it to like 11-5 every year because he's just amazing.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Charlie. I wouldn't say bottom tier, but you don't get excited when you look at other receiving cores and you see, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett leading the way. You don't get excited about, Chris Carson, Rashad Penny when, other teams have Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. The defense is still really good, but no more Clowney. Legion of Boom hasn't been a thing for years now. So I agree, like Russell Wilson elevates that team.
And I don't even know if I would say dark horse because like I said, like he always finishes like kind of up there, but like, again, it's not like it's Patty Mahomes. It's not Lamar Jackson. Like he's obviously talked about, but like it's the guy I could seriously see him winning it too. So.
Yeah. So for me, my pick was Dak because I think like you said, quarterbacks win MVP, and they added CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they lost Travis Frederick. They replaced him with the Wisconsin center. Cowboys had a super good draft. I just think like when your third receiver is Michael Gallup, that's when you're cooking. And if Dak's putting it together and he wants to prove that he deserves the contract, all that, I don't know. That just seems like a good storyline.
Not to mention, no more Jason Garrett there. You have Mike McCarthy. He's had experience with good quarterbacks, particularly Rodgers.
I mean, Rodgers. Yeah. Rodgers won a couple of MVPs.
You can make the argument that Dak has the best weapons in the entire league. I think he could be in the mix, and I think Dak statistically will be like a top 8 quarterback. But that's an interesting pick. I didn't think that you would go that route. I didn't know what you would choose, but I didn't expect Dak.
That's just what I thought. That's who you were gonna pick, actually. But then, like once you started talking and doing your thing, I figured out that it'd be Kyler.
it started to piece together when I started thinking about all the Super Bowl losers and how the Chiefs are the only team that I could actually see, like the Chiefs and the Patriots, when the Patriots had Brady, that can consistently get to the Super Bowl every year. But dude, that just takes a toll on your body. And I don't know, they lost a lot. You lose DeForest Buckner, you lose Emmanuel Sanders. Um, they just, I just don't see it. And I think the Cardinals are ready to make not the jump to be like a 12-4 team, but 9-7, 10-6. I don't think that's, out of the picture. Yeah.
No, I don't think so either.
Wow. That went over pretty good.
Yeah, it was kind of fun actually too.
I thought we'd get a little more heated, but I totally see the Russell Wilson and the Dak.
Yeah,
but
I actually do really like the Dak now that I think about it, because like obviously the game's just like super like high powered offense now, and like you said, like just ridiculous weapons everywhere you look. So I mean, I feel like it's kind of hard to be bad. Like it's hard for Dak to not be good.
Yeah, he's got like a top 5 running back and a top receiving core. I'm assuming CeeDee Lamb is going to walk in and be elite. He was my favorite wide receiver prospect.
I mean, that's a great segue, because we haven't really talked about the draft.
Yeah.
And I would like to, because Evan and I are Chargers fans. Unfortunately, Swift isn't here to contribute to Vikings draft stuff because I know he would love to do that. Exactly.
But I can hold down
I'll
the
let
fort
you
for Vikings Nation.
talk about the Vikings, but something I do want to mention is the Vikings had a really, really good draft. They had a lot of picks. You don't need to go through all 14 or 17 or whatever it was, but give me some names you really like and maybe some comps and where they fit and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the Vikings just had a beautiful draft because they have a lot of holes to fill, and I know that not all these guys are going to hit because that would just be impossible, and then you eventually have to pay all of them. So not everyone's going to stick on the roster, probably not even this year. But I really liked starting off. Justin, the first round was just a knock out of the park with Justin Jefferson, because he's just elite. He can come in, and he basically got him for Stephon Diggs straight up and picked up some other picks. So I didn't mind that deal very much. And then we also traded back with, I believe it was the 49ers, who traded up for Brandon Ayuk. And then we got Jeff Gladney, who I think he'll walk in as a day one guy. He's a little bit older, but I think that could help because the Vikings have a tendency to draft really young, athletic cornerbacks, and then they sit and develop, and then by the end of their rookie contract, they're either not very good or we have to pay them a lot of money by the time they're actually good. So Trey Waynes, we got Mackenzie Alexander. Both of them, I believe, went to the Bengals this offseason. Xavier Rhodes became elite, and then he just kind of fell off a cliff last year. Somehow, I think he still made the Pro Bowl off of his name, but he went to the Colts. So yeah, that was a solid first round because I think both those guys will be day one contributors, and especially when in an off season where like training camp and OTAs and rookie mini camp like is all in question. I think that'll be nice. Then in the second round we got lineman Ezra Cleveland, which I really like the pick because I think he's just an absolute mauler. He's got ridiculous athleticism. He's on like the higher like 80, 90 percentiles for all like the 40-yard dash and speed score and all this stuff like that. And then going down the list, I won't bore you guys with all the fourth and fifth round picks, but I just think that was had some solid defenders and got a punt returner, some developmental offensive line guys, special teams, got some productive defensive guys. And then my favorite was Nate Stanley in the 7th round, my Hawkeye. Hopefully he makes the roster as a third QB because who really gives a crap about like who the third QB is? But I mean, he was one of the most productive quarterbacks in Hawkeye history. He said he didn't go out his first like 3 years in college because he's always grinding tape and had no life. So like I like that if like that
Oh
as his
no,
odds for
stop.
becoming the next Tom Brady. So I know, but I actually think that he could make the roster, and like if he ever had to come into game, I don't think it'd be horrible because he's
Yeah,
just
and
effing
I mean, I'm
massive.
not a huge Nate Stanley fan, but I will say, he was a senior this year, right? So he, all throughout college, they
Yeah,
play a very it's not quite they run a pro
yeah.
style
We play
offense,
Iowa
and I
plays a
don't know
pro
if that's
style
quite what
offense
the
almost.
Vikings run. I think they do a little bit, you know,
They do a little more. I guess I'd actually say they're relatively similar, but I think the Vikings
well,
just obviously. I mean, it's professional versus college. The Vikings
and
have more explosive
who's the
playmakers, so
Vikings
they can
like
do more
backup
stuff down
quarterback?
the
Don't they
field.
have?
It's Sean Mannion, who's the guy that I don't even really know like anything about him besides like what he looks like. He's never played, and if he ever
Yeah,
has to play, like that'd be really bad. Hopefully that means that we would get Trevor Lawrence if he was playing. But yeah, so I mean, the backup quarterback's a position of need, and I mean, I wouldn't have minded a shot on Jalen Hurts in the middle rounds, but the Eagles took him, was
honestly,
which was kind of entertaining with all the crazy Eagles fans. Philly fans are kind of a
honestly, I think you
little bit
dodged a bullet
obnoxious
with
most of the time. So
not getting Hurts and giving up high draft capital. That's Ezra Cleveland right there.
Yeah.
I'd
yeah, I don't know if we were
right.
actually gonna take Jalen Hurts in the second round or anything because we had a lot of holes to fill. Like half of our defense was gone.
Linval
Everson
Joseph.
Griffin, three cornerbacks. Um, Linval Joseph. That's like five
Well, and you
starters,
could throw in
and
Diggs. I mean, I
so
think
yeah,
Jefferson's
I
going to
mean,
be good, but that's a starter that knows the system and has a rapport with the quarterback. So, I but you're losing a lot of starters. You're getting a lot of
yeah,
talent back, but
yeah. I hope we had the biggest draft class in seventh round in the seventh round era. We had 15 picks, and the other two drafts I believe are the Browns in like 2014 or 15 maybe, and then the Miami Dolphins in like early 2000s. Which I was looking back and like, how many hit for those guys? And the Dolphins had a Hall of Famer
yeah.
and a Pro Bowl
Well,
cornerback. So I'm like, I'd
I
take
guess I'll
that.
jump into
So
our draft as Charger fans. I think I have probably a very
Right. I was thinking this is
this was
where our 20
monumental for you
live viewers
guys.
during the live draft show just want to know how Alex feeling after the Herbert pick.
yeah. Well, okay. I'll go over all of our picks because we only had 5 or 6. How many was? Yeah, but
It's so much more
I'll go over
boring.
them and I'll kind of give my opinions. And after each guy, Evan, you can kind of because I think my takes are probably going to
Your
be
takes are going to be better than mine. I feel like I could sprinkle some stuff in or whatever, but
yeah, maybe you'll probably have the brighter side of things.
right.
Okay, so obviously at pick 6 we took Justin Herbert, and for anyone that watched the YouTube live stream of the draft knows that I was not happy with the pick. I- yeah,
You were
let's
dropping
just
some
say I
F
really wanted
bombs at pick
Tua,
5 and 6.
and after that I really wanted Isaiah Simmons. But after I had mentioned this already, if we got Herbert, I wasn't going to be like super mad. I wasn't going to be super excited. To me, it's just kind of a meh pick, and you're just shooting for mediocrity. I think he has he looks like he was built in a QB laboratory, so there's like a plus. He has great arm strength. He didn't have a ton of talent on Oregon. When he got there, they were like, I mean, I think they had 4 wins when he got there, and then he finished with, Rose Bowl win. So I think there's things to like about him. Yeah,
With
I
three
think there's
three
things to
rushing
like about him,
touchdowns in that
but
game, I believe. So
to me, he just seems like he's going to end up as a Josh Allen or a Ryan Tannehill, which, like I said, that you're just settling for mediocrity. Like a bunch of 8-8, 9-7 seasons, maybe make a wild card here and there. And that's kind of what I think he'll be. Now, I do think his ceiling is Carson Wentz, that type of guy who can put up MVP type numbers. I don't think he will, but he has the capability to do that. But yeah, we'll see. I think Tyrod's going to play most of the year. I honestly would be shocked if Herbert even sees the field from what Tom Telesco and Anthony Lynn have said.
I was going to say the interview on Instagram was literally like, excited to see you here. Like, you're basically going to be sitting the entire year, but
yeah, like they said they wanted him to come in and develop and learn, and that to me does not sound like he's going to start. Right. I'm perfectly okay with that. I think he needs to sit and learn for a while. If I were to grade, it's like a C plus B minus. But our next pick was Kenneth Murray, who we traded up for, which I hate the fact that we traded up for a off-ball linebacker. However, he is an absolute freak, and he has just insane sideline to sideline speed. And every single time he tackles someone, it looks like he's about to just, rip limbs off their body. Yeah. So I think he's a really good player. I don't really like the idea of trading away all of your day 2 picks for him. But I think he's like a really talented player. It's hard to get over the fact that we traded so much draft capital to get him. But that's a B plus,
Not to mention him and Herbert are both class acts off the field. I mean, we always like that.
Yeah, and he's a good dude. You start thinking about the defense, and it has Derwin James, Bosa, Ingram, Kenneth Murray, Hayward, Chris Harris, Des King. Like, you start listing off the guys, and you're like, oh shit, like Drew Tranquill. It's pretty loaded. So it's nice to have him in the mix. Joshua Kelly, I think he's just kind of a plug and play, Jordan Howard type running back. I don't think he's going to be elite or anything. I actually
like the Josh Kelly pick because I just think, like, I'm not sure. Do you think Eckler can play the whole game? Just see if he's a 3-down back. Like, I think that he's got to have some carries where he's not getting them.
Part of it is pounded. Do I think Joshua Kelly's a bad player? No, I don't think Jordan Howard's a bad player, and that's who my comp is. What I don't like is that your third pick of the draft is a running back when I didn't think that was a pressing need. I thought we needed offensive tackle. I thought we needed corner. I thought there was other needs there, and there was plenty of talent still available. So I don't love the pick. I like the player. I don't love the pick. I don't even know if that makes sense.
For what it's worth, Josh Kelly's 40 puts him 80th percentile.
He's got some speed. From what I saw on like tape, when I watched the little bit of tape, he doesn't look like he's super athletic out in the field. But he seems like the type of guy that's not going to he doesn't lose yards. He just seems like he's going to be. What they're really going to do is they're going to just do what the Patriots did and have a carousel of running backs that they just run through. Eckler's going to get the bulk of it, but Eckler will get his 10 carries. Kelly will get his 7 or 8. Justin Jackson will get 6. Yeah,
I know. I love how Charlie's always because Swift's always trying to trade Jackson, and it's hilarious because Charlie's like, no, he belongs to the waiver. Like, that he should not even be on a roster.
Okay, let me chime in here.
I do think he should be on a roster.
He's extremely talented. Prior to him getting hurt this year, off of this is kind of a small sample size, but off of 25-ish carries, he was averaging 9 yards a carry. So he's really good at finding holes, and he's really shifty. He just can't stay healthy. And yeah, at Northwestern too, he had a ton of work, and I think that that just took a toll on him.
He's
Yeah,
below
we'll
200
see.
pounds.
Like I
And
said,
that's just tough.
I like the player in Joshua Kelly. I don't like the value of the pick. Next guy is Joe Reed. Joe Reed to me is literally
All
a
right.
poor man's Debo. He can line up in the backfield. He can play receiver. He's a really, really good
Special
kick.
teams.
He's a really good kick returner. He'll probably be the day one kick returner. Not, I don't see
He's like
Jacoby.
Jacoby
He's
Jones.
more versatile than Jacoby Jones.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's not as athletic as Debo. Debo's a lot faster. Joe Reed still went 4.4, but I think it was a great pick. And if you watch any of his tape at Virginia, I think I could have done a better job as the quarterback at Virginia. His name's like Bryce something, or he's terrible. He's the one with the dreads.
Yeah, I recognize
not
the
good.
Virginia
Not
quarterback.
good. And Joe Reed caught like 77 passes. So he's a damn good player.
Oh yeah, Bryce Perkins. I definitely
Bryce
recognize
Perkins.
him.
Yeah. Yes. Just
Yeah, Bryce Perkins. I think he signed an undrafted deal with.
I think it's to play like a receiver. He's
probably
athletic,
not to play quarterback though. Probably
when he throws a ball, it's like catching pop flies. Like seriously, it's really bad. Alohi Gilman is
that is not what you want.
It's just one of those Charger picks where it's a head scratcher. He'll probably step in and just be a special teams guy. I don't expect much from him. Keep that short and sweet.
Maybe we're sad about Tua or something.
Yeah, or we need some Hawaiian.
Yeah, we need some Hawaiian guy.
Yeah. He's just gonna be a special teams guy. But honestly, one of my favorite picks of the entire draft is KJ Hill, which is our 7th round pick. I think he can be an immediate impact as like the wide receiver 3 or 4. Him and Joe Reed will probably compete for that spot. But he's just a route runner. He has great hands. This is as a 7th round pick. This is an A+ pick.
Yeah, I agree.
He should have been drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, and he got knocked because he ran a slow 40. He went like 4.6, but he performed extremely well at the Senior Bowl. I think they voted him as the like most valuable player or best receiver or something like that. And Keenan Allen went 4.7 in the 40.
Well, that's like Michael Thomas. You have another Ohio State wide receiver. I don't think he did particularly well at the combine. And you look at him now, and he's NFL's best wide receiver. So
yeah, KJ Hill was a steal.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Quick thing on Keenan Allen though is that he's like a once in a generation, or not once in a generation. He's a once in a decade kind of like route runner. So that makes up for his
KJ Hill.
40, I'd say.
KJ Hill's a great route runner. That's his hands and his route running are probably his 2 best attributes.
He was at the top of.
He has the most receptions of all time at Ohio State.
For,
and
receiving.
Who better to kind of mentor than Keenan Allen? Like Keenan Allen, he'll sit behind him, he'll watch, he'll learn. It's perfect. So overall, I think our draft was okay. I'd give it like a B- because I don't love the Kelly pick. I don't love trading up for Kenneth Murray. I don't love Herbert, and I don't love Alohi Gilman. But a lot of these guys are really good players. I just don't know if I agree with the value. So
I think All Sports News gave it an A-. If that makes you feel any better. You love to see it. I think maybe the Raiders maybe had a D-. Or maybe I can't remember what team they gave it. No, not D-. Okay, it was
Packers was so bad.
The Packers was a D-, but out of our division, it was the Raiders. They got like a B- actually. Yeah. Every other team he gave an A-.
Actually, if we're going to talk about other drafts, I was actually going to bring up the Raiders just because of like fantasy purposes. It's interesting what they did because, you look at Mike Mayock and John Gruden, and all they pick is guys from the college football playoff. Like Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, and that's basically it. They've drafted like 1st round picks from Clemson, in Alabama for like the past like 3 years. So like you look at their draft, they overdrafted Damon Arnett at pick 19. But I want to talk about like the offensive guys. So they get Ruggs over CD and Jerry Jeudy, which I thought was kind of questionable. I know they want to replicate Tyreek Hill, which is in their division. But then if you go to the third round,
Your boy?
they made up for themselves when they picked Brian Edwards, and Lynn Bowden, which are just both super dynamic playmakers, and like they could be even more productive than Henry Ruggs. I know Henry Ruggs changes schemes and all that. Who knows if he'll be like a Justin, Ross or a Tyreek Hill.
I like the Ruggs pick because I agree
yeah,
they're
I don't know,
they're
what
going
do you
after
guys
that Tyreek Hill mold in their offense. But to me, like you said, CeeDee Lamb, he was my top receiver, and I think you already have Tyrell Williams as your quote unquote field stretcher.
Yeah. I think Tyrell Williams might be out the door after this draft because, I mean, Hunter Renfrow was pretty productive last year in the slot, and, Derek Carr doesn't throw deep. So then you got Ruggs going deep, Renfrow in the slot, and then they're going to play Bowden
he'll be that,
at running back, they said.
gadget.
I'm sure he'll do a little bit of
he's going to be
everything.
that Debo.
But Debo, yeah.
I don't know if they can get rid of Tyrell, though. He signed
He's kind of positionless
a 4-year deal with them or 3-year deal with them this last year for like $40 million.
Something that we basically didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, and I just don't know if you can move that or
maybe the Patriots like it because Bill seems to always misvalue wide receivers. He gave up a second-round pick for Mohamed Sanu last year. Who knows?
I agree.
Either way,
speaking of that,
position guys going
and
to
I
the
think
Raiders.
this will be our last segment. So I traded my 10th pick in our dynasty draft. So we can talk about some of our trades that we've made in our leagues. Evan, Sam, and Charlie are in a league together.
We've all been wheeling and
that
dealing.
I'm not in, and then Charlie, Sam, and I are in a league together that Sam's not in. So there's.
Or you mean?
Yeah.
Not Sam.
Did I say Sam?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Evan's in the league, not Sam.
I traded that pick, which could have been Ruggs as the pick.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm trying to think off the top of my head what it was. So I got Fournette and Darius Slayton, and I traded away Melvin Gordon, Duke Johnson, and 110 in a 20-man dynasty. My thought process, you guys can kind of critique it, but my thought process behind this trade was Melvin Gordon is in a committee situation. I think Philip Lindsay's better. I think they're going to give Melvin Gordon the ball, but he still has to go against Philip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. I don't love it. And so I wanted to, ship him off. I think Fournette's better. I don't think Fournette's going to be amazing, but he had a really solid year this last year. And I think Jacksonville not picking up his fifth year, they're just going to run him into the ground and give him the ball a lot. And then Duke Johnson was a throwaway guy. He was just someone to throw into the trade. I was never going to start him. He would never even. He's almost droppable. So I just kind of threw him in the trade.
And to give a little context on your team is that you won the championship last year, and you're a contender.
And honestly, the trade that
you're
before when you got the 110 was almost a steal. Like I feel like you're basically just. I don't know if you're basically just given the 110. I don't remember that trade was, but I feel like you ripped him off, whoever that was in that trade as well.
I wouldn't say it was a pretty fair trade, kind of looking back on it. The one where I acquired.
Yeah.
Right.
You got Melvin Gordon off of me.
But I think some people get really,
or not summer, but it feels
antsy
like
about you traded 110 and that's such a high pick. You got Darius Slayton. Look, I'm gambling on the fact that the guy that I pick at 110 has to be better than Slayton. And Slayton's already established. He's arguably the number one in New York. Now he has Daniel Jones throwing the ball, but he was like he had 700 some yards and 8 touchdowns last year, and I think his role's only going to expand. So I thought, why not get a proven guy? I had a hole at my third wide receiver spot. He's 23. He's young. I thought I got better, at least on paper. So
Yeah, I'm not against it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind that trade at all.
Yeah,
right, Evan,
I'm gonna go through the whole process because
your first ever.
As you know, Charlie, Eric Cadis is on an absolute rampage with the trades. I forget, but just tell the viewers like how many the picks he owns is ridiculous. I forget if you can.
All right, so there's this kid named Eric in our dynasty league, and basically he's one of the going into like a couple weeks ago. He's one of the 2 guys that I never really sent offers to because he was super inactive, and he's like besties with the other guy that's inactive. So I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to send him offers. But then all of a sudden, this kid is just bored in quarantine, and he starts sending every person in the league like 7 offers. And he's got a decent team. I think he finished 3rd or 4th last year, but he's got like a mix of like win now with like Derrick Henry types, and like he's also got some young. He also had some young guys like Cortland Sutton, and it's just I know it's the middle of the pack dynasty roster. So then he goes and picks up 1.04, 4th overall pick in the first round, 1.07, 1.10, 2.04. And then he already had 2.09 since that was his position. So he's got like 5 or 6 picks in the top 20. But he gave up.
Well, then you put it into like some calculator, and technically it evened out. Like it was 1 point off. So like statistically.
Yeah, so we put it into the Dynasty Dominator app, and I put like 10 things on one side that he gave up, and the 10 things that he got on the other side, and it was like 555 lifetime value points to 554, right. And I'm just like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so basically I just told him I was interested in DK because he texted me, he's like, I want to get a deal done. So I'm thinking, why? I got to get a deal done with him now. I mean, he's all over the place. So he sends me a trade with DK in it, and it's Kelsey, Henry, and DK. I'm like, okay, this is loaded. But then I'm giving up Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Irv Smith, 1.08. Like, it's just a bunch of people. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, it's too much to handle at one time. So then I'm like,
maybe just like
let's simplify it.
Yeah, let's simplify it. So he sends me Devontae Adams. He wants Devontae Adams, and I get Derrick Henry and DK. And I'm thinking, hell yeah, that's a no-brainer. And so we kind of waited on it a little bit. Well, I didn't wait on it. I sent him the offer right away. He kind of waited on it a bit, and then he decided he wanted another running back just to fill for Derrick Henry. Okay, so then he's like, just throw in like Tevin Coleman or something. So I'm like, okay, well, Tevin Coleman's nothing. I'll throw him in. Then he decides instead of Tevin Coleman, he wants Kerryon Johnson. So the trade ultimately becomes I trade Devontae Adams, Kerryon Johnson, and in return I get Derrick Henry and DK Metcalf. And I think that's an absolute steal because, first of all, Devontae Adams is going to have eventually love thrown to him, I think. We'll see what happens with that. And you look at what Derrick Henry did last year. I mean, he's at his peak value, but he's going to get the rock. And then I think DK, like, physically is Calvin Johnson, not as skilled, but, like, you look at his 40, he's an absolute freak of nature. So I like the –
And not to mention –
And he's got Russ.
Yeah, exactly. He has Russ, and not to mention he's 23.
He's
young, so it's perfect for a dynasty league.
Yeah, exactly.
Your receivers are still like DK, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, middle of the pack, but
I don't know who else you have, but
Ridley,
young,
and also my running backs, like Le'Veon's my third running back, and I do not mind that one bit. Like
Derrick Henry, Eckler, and Le'Veon.
Yeah,
that you're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine.
I really like I think my roster improved personally.
Yeah, so going on this Eric kid, before I get to my trade that I made in quarantine, so I'll just say, I don't know if this will be very very good for audio format, but just for the fun of it, I'll say who left his team and what he got from it.
Yeah.
So going out of his team, and this is within like 2 days. Like he just completely tore it down. Okay, so he got rid of Cortland Sutton, Derrick Henry, DK Metcalf, Travis Kelce, Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup, and his 2021 first, second, and third round picks. And then in return, he gets Drew Lock, Evan Ingram, T.Y. Hilton, Kerryon Johnson, Devontae Adams, and then picks 1.04, 1.07,
He pretty much
1.10,
downgraded every
and
player that he
2.04.
traded away and got in
So it
return.
was just like
he upgraded
he
his
was
draft picks, but my God,
yeah. It
This is
ends
what
up
I think about
about
it.
being
First of
even.
all, I'm
It
not
was
a big
crazy
Ty
though.
guy,
Like I thought he
and
could have
Evan
been a
Ingram just
championship
can't stay on the
contender.
field. He's
but
practically Jordan Reed.
Kerryon Johnson's going to
Okay.
play second fiddle to DeAndre
And what I was
Swift.
just about to say is I traded Kerryon.
And Drew Lock has only played 5 good games in his career. He's played 5
And
games.
Charlie, I
so
was
it's
telling
good,
you,
but,
like,
who knows
I was
what
like,
he's even
I
gonna be.
need to
know
get
they
rid of
gave
Kerryon.
up
Like, if I can
hella
get him for
weapons
just
in the draft,
anything.
but, yeah,
Right.
we were even talking before the draft for like that's why I got rid of Marlon Mack before the draft.
Thank goodness I
Because
got
it's just
Derrick
like
Henry.
you want a guy to be the number 1 running back on his team. If you don't want to mess with. You want elite young.
So
Explosive
I know
running
this doesn't
backs that
pertain to
have
any
a
of our
workload,
trades,
and
but you two
Kerryon
are
just
both
lost
in
that, so did Marlon Mack.
my league that I won in Dynasty, the 20-man, and it's starting to become a pretty serious league amongst my friends.
Yeah.
And Charlie, you're brand new. This is your first season. He took over. For anyone that doesn't know, here's some context. He took over another person that wasn't our league.
Mhm.
His team. It was horrible. Yeah.
You traded everybody.
Second
away.
worst team in the league.
Yeah, you've kind of made the most of it though. You've
He drafted
turned it
like
around,
10
and you're in a good
Pittsburgh
position
Steelers.
to start the rebuild.
Yeah, so when you added me to the league, we basically got a trade. Not that you were like conspiring to add me so you can do a trade. I was just like put all my guys on the block and you offered because you're like one of the most active guys in the league. So I got like Christian Kirk and I don't even remember,
Kevin
but
Coleman.
I gave like Melvin Gordon, James Washington, and I got Christian Kirk and something I can't really remember. But I also picked up Gronk, which was another good thing. Hopefully I can just turn him out for young value later. But yeah, I'm
Right.
more focused on my other league. But
what I
just,
thought
like,
was
using this one
interesting
as a
is,
rebuild, I have the number 2
so my
overall pick
roommate
in that league.
recently made a trade, and would you say that in your other league, Eric lost in the grand scheme of things with his trade?
I would say so.
It depends on what he picks with how his picks turn out. If he gets like DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers,
maybe
Keyshawn Vaughn, and like Justin Jefferson, I would say, like. But if he gets like Jalen Reagor and like Jerry Jeudy, like more wide receivers he gets, and just like I don't know. I think in the grand scheme, like he lost a bunch of elite players.
So that makes me wonder: was Eric's
season.
trading, worse for his team than Keezy in our league trading Tyler Lockett, Dalvin Cook in a second for Raheem Mostert, Dede Westbrook, Mike Gesicki in a first?
Yeah, I didn't really like that trade when I saw it, just because the 2 best players were on the side you gave up, and granted in a 20-man league, a second rounder is more like a third or fourth for
and not to mention it's not like it's an early
but
first round pick.
Kind of surprised when I saw
pick
that.
16, so it's 116, and then Keezy gave up his second rounder, which was 215, which now puts Luke, who received Lockett and Dalvin, he now has 3 second rounders, all within like 211, 215, 216. So he got the better end of the active players, and he still gained draft capital. Like I was blown away by this trade, but
I think the level of like messing up, I guess, from like Keezy's perspective and Cadis's perspective is pretty close, because like you look at Cadis's trade, he gave up Derrick Henry. I would much rather have Derrick Henry than Kerryon Johnson. I'd much rather have DK than Ty. I'd much rather have Kelsey than Evan Ingram. So,
well, and
personally,
here's the crazy thing. So I was actually there for this negotiation with Luke and Kesey, and the craziest part is like I knew what Luke was going to offer going into this trade. I was going to stay out of it as the commish. I just thought that they should negotiate.
You've
Right,
already done,
right.
and you've already done
And
enough deals.
Luke was
the
going
league, so
in
you just
thinking
gotta.
I will get
You don't want it to look corrupt.
Kenyon Drake, Tyler Lockett, and maybe a trash receiver or a third round pick, something along those lines, in exchange for pretty much what his side gave up. Mm-hmm. Well, Brian in the negotiation said, I would actually rather keep Kenyon Drake over Dalvin. And Dalvin's 3 years younger than Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
Was better in fantasy this year. He's probably going to exactly, and all of these things. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, "Oh my, is he going to pull this off?" And I was blown away. I was blown away, to say the least. I think that was probably the biggest ripoff of a trade in our league, and it wasn't even like ripping off someone that doesn't know what they're doing. It was he negotiated himself into that position, which is just insane to me.
I know Sam put in our first episode, maybe it wasn't the one that got posted, but we talked about the top 10 dynasty running backs. And I know he put Drake in like the 10th spot. So like, obviously he's pretty good, but for some reason, I just need to see like another year from him.
Right. And he kind of came in and had something to prove. Yeah.
He came in
I think Drake is going to be good.
Just like,
no
just
doubt
booming,
but he's
nowhere.
Not even in the same stratosphere as Dalvin Cook, in my opinion.
Dalvin is like a top 5 running back.
Dalvin's a top 3 to 5 fantasy running back. Kenyon Drake, I think at his peak is like a top 10 running back.
Yeah.
But he's more than likely going to be like a top 18, 15, somewhere in there, would be my guess.
The good news about Drake is that you're looking at an improved offense with, like you said, your dark horse MVP and DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm just doing best case scenario here for Drake is that from what happened last season continues this year.
Right.
And he kind of has fresh legs since he never really was like fully used as a workhorse in Miami.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And Dalvin has injury concerns, but granted, I definitely want that.
There's been a lot of trading. There's been a lot of weird trades in our league, as you guys know.
I think people are just kind of this is my first off season in dynasty leagues. I joined, like you said, your league like a couple months ago, but this is like the first time I've had off season. Normally we'd be like in high school right now, like doing whatever. We were blowing off our senior year classes, but like now we just have all day to sit around, like sleep in and like work out, make TikToks, and like do fantasy trades because there's literally nothing else to do. I think that could be part of it. Another part of it could be like, dynasty is for hardcore fantasy football players that are just like absolutely obsessed.
Also, I don't want to speak on Sam's trade too much, but when you like talk about like being bored and stuff,
GM,
Swift might have had the grossest trade I've ever seen. It's like Alshon and like a 4th rounder. And I'm gonna pull it up. It's like
so
he trades
I'll pull it up here
Rashad Perriman, Chris Conley, a 5th rounder this year, and a 3rd rounder. So
both those picks were late, and he got Alshon Jeffrey in a late 4th round. And it's just like
Alshon's like kind of washed. He's kind of old. Like
because
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
So what's grosser, that mess of a trade, or something a little bit more simplified of $20 of fab for JJ Arcega-Whiteside?
Oh, that's grosser.
Yeah, okay, but we don't even like do. I don't even think we do free agent auction bidding in our league. So like, I don't even know how to trade money because I don't think I'm in Dynasty League with
The
like
thing is
20 man and like shallow rosters, like I
you'd be
don't even think there's
surprised.
going to be very many people on the
The
waivers
waiver
that
definitely
want,
is more slim.
especially with the taxi squad.
We implemented last year a way to kind of cut down rosters so that way there would be a little bit more available on the waiver. So I think we had like 8 or 9 man benches plus 2 IR spots, and I got rid of either 1 or 2 bench spots and then one of the IR spots, meaning, that's like 3 to 4 guys per roster. Right, but we didn't ever have a taxi squad last year.
Plus, you got a taxi.
This was
squad.
implemented this offseason for the draft. But what I was getting at was we tried to add more players back to the waiver, and it kind of worked. You'd also be surprised, like last year, AJ Green was on our waiver wire somehow. And when someone like that hits the waiver, people are bidding, 80, 90, $100 of their $150 fab. Like you're giving up a lot. We had someone bid $75 on Dwayne Haskins. So
right.
It just depends. I put in $15 and got Trey Burton.
But see, that's way more fun. Like Charlie, in our league with
I was surprised
the Dirty
that.
Dozen or whatever, we have 20 man benches. So like the waivers just kind of suck. And like to be honest, I do not have like much depth. I could seriously drop like 10 guys. Like that's not an exaggeration. I could drop.
Yeah.
I think we could make the benches smaller.
I've just been dropping them because
how many people are on your
a lot of
bench?
Picks.
Like how big are your? Oh my gosh! Evan just showed me, and
yeah, I'm showing him.
We have 27 man rosters with a 3-man taxi squad, so each team owns 30.
Honestly,
so
you could cut your benches in half.
But, I mean, there's still open spots on rosters.
It's
right
like
now
I'm gonna read off some names that are on my bench that I don't need. I don't think I need.
Yeah.
Well, like Kalen Balaj, Elijah McGuire, Alfred Blue.
No, none of those guys even play.
I have 3
any of them.
They won't ever see
Percy Harvin on my team.
Most of there's guys on your roster that will be out of the league in 2 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's no point to have rosters that big.
I got Cordero Patterson like that. That might be important.
Yeah, and you have to think too. Like, when are you ever going to start Cordero Patterson?
Yeah, not a chance. Never going to happen.
I don't know. We implemented that into our league. It worked out pretty good. I think we have a good balance of bench, IR, taxi squad, starters. We run, I don't know what your league does, but we have like 3 wide receivers in a flex. Typically it's 2. So it's a little different, but it's made the league better.
We do like 2 wide receiver and then tight end. And what is it? Then wide receiver, tight end for 2 spots.
Yeah. We're one.
Oh, so you just have 2 flexes instead of
spots,
our thought process as commissioner. I was the one that kind of did this without really even consulting anyone. But my thought process was, in a dynasty league with 20 people, running backs were going to be slim. And so I figured if I added a 3rd wide receiver where you have to start 3 wide receivers, it would put more emphasis on drafting those guys because you have to fill that spot. And then it would leave running backs available. Whether that worked or not, it kind of did, it kind of didn't. But that was kind of my thought process when I was making my league. But it's interesting that you guys did 2 flexes.
And we don't have no kicker or defense.
Oh, interesting.
Which I kind of like in Alex league though, because it's kind of fun to see like when Greg DeLay goes for 20 and then your other league it's like Le'Veon Bell, like where your kicker should be or something.
I like having the kicker. I'm not ready to move on from kicker and defense yet, and I'm also not ready to add defensive players. Well, and the thing is like a lot of the times,
the defensive players, I won't ever be ready to add that. I think
players
it's kind of stupid.
Aren't even good in fantasy because
it's just
like my buddy is in like a big dynasty league with random people, and they do defensive players, but his like draft and signing strategy is he goes for the worst defensive players, like really bad defensive backs that can't defend passes, so they have to get tackles. And it's like I don't like that. I want the elite players to be good.
I mean,
so, and the offensive players, that's the case. So I don't think I'll ever do defensive players in a fantasy league.
And even though defense wins championships like real life, I'm not gonna watch a game because I want to watch my DN play. Like,
right,
I want to see. That's boring.
Yeah, and like you're watching a random Cincinnati Bengals game,
exactly,
and their third string corner is has 5 tackles, and you're going off because some no name is doing well in fantasy, but he's given a receiver 8 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't get it. But I think that about go ahead.
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
I was just gonna say, I know you're about to wrap up, but we haven't gone over my trade yet, which was, and then we can wrap up after. All right, so in my league, I have just to give some context here, I have a young roster. I got like Saquon, Patrick Mahomes, Stephon Diggs, Miles Sanders, Debo, Marquise Brown, TJ Hawkinson, whatever. So I was at the 1.03 because we had a draft lottery. I had the second worst record in the league, but my team actually scored a decent amount of points. I don't know. I just had bad luck with injuries. Saquon and Mahomes were out for a while, and I just wasn't a contending team, especially with a lot of rookies. So I'm pretty happy to get the 3rd overall pick. So in the words of Rick Spielman, the Vikings general manager, I was he's like, you got to look around. You're talking to teams on both sides of the pick. You trade up, trade down. So I after going into the draft, I was thinking number 1 pick will be Jonathan Taylor, number 2 pick will be DeAndre Swift, and then I don't know who to pick at number 3, whether that's J.K. Dobbins or Cam Akers or CeeDee Lamb. And then the draft happens, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire soars up the rankings, and I'm still sitting at pick number 3, and I'm like, all right, so now I'm like not even in love with DeAndre Swift, even though I thought he was going top 2. Like maybe I should trade down, pick up more assets. And then I'm like, oh, none of that's really working. I got Lucas, who's like a hardcore fantasy player right behind me. He wasn't really feeling it. I mean, I'm not gonna get value out of him. And then Swifty, another member of this podcast, I'm not gonna. I mean, I could have done a deal with him, but like it probably wouldn't have been very beneficial because he's a smart fantasy player. So then I'm just like, okay, the commission of the league is right in front of me. And I'm like, all right, let's just see what the value is for trading up. And then he just sends like the juiciest offer. I'm like, insta accept, baby. So I sent pick number 3 in Stephon Diggs for pick number 2, Mike Williams, his first rounder next year.
So you locked in
3rd rounder,
Jonathan Taylor.
And then he also had the number 1 pick, but he traded down
or Clyde
earlier. So originally that 3rd round.
Oh.
Yeah, I locked in Jonathan. Well, the number 1 pick is a Colts fan and traded up to get that because he was at pick number 2.
I would rather have Clyde than Jonathan Taylor, I think.
But if I get Jonathan Taylor, I'm very happy.
That was a really good trade. You didn't even have to negotiate. As soon as those are the trades that are the best when someone sends you it and you just look at it and instantly know, like, I'm accepting this, and you just hit it.
Yeah, and the 3rd round pick that I got was originally a 2nd round pick in the first screenshot of an offer he sent me, and then he's like, "Wait, I think I might downgrade that to a 3rd." I'm like, "All right, that's still fine by me. I'd do that." So yeah, and I like the 2021 first round because the 6 teams that don't make the playoffs in our league go through like a toilet bowl, and if you win that, you get lottery slips, and we do like a draft lottery. So like, the worst team in the league still ended up with the most slips, and then I had the 2nd most slips, and then, but we still got picks 2 and 3. But this guy barely missed the playoffs last year, but he won the
I think
toilet bowl tournament, and then he got like 3rd most
exactly.
slips,
And I think and especially in a smaller league like that, and our league,
and a 1st round pick is valuable.
It's a little different because after pick 12 it starts to drop off pretty quick, but you have the chance of getting a high pick. And I think people forget that a future first round pick, or really future picks in general, like that's still super valuable. It's the fact that they don't see it this year and they're not going to draft it this year. So, right,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right. So I think that's kind of been a
They
thing in
don't
our
see the
league is
number besides the
I've
first
traded away
round. Like
future
they don't see
picks,
the
but I'm also in a
1.01.
position where my team is, in my opinion, pretty loaded, and I'm in full win now mode. I'm trying to get as many titles as I can. Um, so I was willing to give up future picks, but some people are giving up future picks, and they definitely should not be. So I think that's a hell of a deal for you, Charlie.
Charlie, this is what I really like about your team. Okay, no shade towards Cole, but like Cole will be eating the pepper for the next like 5, 6 years. Maybe Toby, we'll see, because Toby just has like a bunch of like win now players, but they're not really win now either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His
So, but what I like about your team
Yeah,
is
he has a bunch of like
even
third
if
year.
people
He has
get
a bunch of
hurt,
third
you
year
have
olds
like
that
the
like
base with
aren't
like
even like very
Saquon,
good.
Patty, Miles Sanders, like you're gonna put up like 100 points with those guys like every week, and then it's just like okay, hopefully my other guys do good, and like
Then you can go for the boomer bust guys.
right.
Yeah, hopefully and that's why I like also like I have Jamison Crowder, who has he's gonna have a lot of PPR points from Sam Darnold this year because they have like no other receivers. And then I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Real
6,
quick,
7, 8 picks
one
in the
last little
draft out
segment
of
that I
our
thought of off
60.
the top of
So
my head.
I'm hoping some of those
Evan
guys
mentioned it,
hit.
just kind of sparked this, but so you guys eat a pepper for whoever loses in your league. We thought about doing like a league punishment. We were going to do it, and then the person that got last chickened out. I won't name names, but what did you guys have other ideas in mind? Because we had one that was really interesting, and I kind of want to rank like our top 3 best punishments for losing a fantasy league.
Mhm.
You guys said pepper. Was there any other ones that you guys had kind of thrown around?
Well, see, in our other league, we did a spray tan. Well, and for you guys, spray tan's probably not that big of a deal because, like, for us, we're in high school. Like during the time, oh, I guess
A spray tan would be
it would
that
be
would suck.
okay. It would probably suck, but like when you're in high school and you're thinking like, oh, everybody's gonna see me, like it's just kind of awkward. Like be around school and literally like it's like in the middle of the winter and you're the darkest person. Like it's just kind of weird. So the only like downside to that was the person that did it. We wanted them to get like the darkest, and it was just like a really like the
Yeah.
orangest. Yeah.
Or like the orangest. And
Yeah.
Oh,
But I think
and
that's
he
a
set
pretty
up
good
his own
punishment. Like
appointment. So
the pepper's
then
kind
we
of
got
next level
completely
because
effed
Cole
and
was
it didn't
bar
even
like
look
he
that
literally
bad
threw
like
up
a
like
couple days later.
it was a good amount. So
Yeah. Yeah, and well, we don't really run our dynasty league because most of the league is the people in the grade ahead of us who are in college. So like we were just kind of like the add-ons at the last second.
yeah.
But the other league that Sam's been the commissioner of since like 6th grade, that's where we control it, and that's where we had the spray tan.
see, I
Personally, I'm not
think
even
I think the
really a big
pepper
fan of
would
the
be the
punishments
easiest.
because I
I
don't
would
want to do
hate
it.
to have
But
to eat a
luckily, I'm a
spray tan,
pretty
and
decent fantasy player.
especially
So
me now, like going to work with a spray tan would suck.
Mhm.
Going out, I guess we can't go out, but you know, assuming that I could, that kind of stuff. What we had, which would have been rough, and this was an idea we floated around, and it got shot down pretty quick by some people. Um, we thought the person who got last should have to go to an open mic stand up comedy thing, and everyone else in the league has to write their jokes.
I don't know where you like I don't know around here where I don't know where you do that, but I'm sure you can find
Oh,
it.
I'm sure there's
But
something.
that would be
that'd be kind
freaking
of funny.
hilarious. Even if we like for like Swifty's league, like that he's been doing since 6th grade. I think that shit would be hilarious if we did that.
It, that would be so like humiliating. I mean, obviously you'd have to keep the jokes, from being,
Yeah,
super flagrant, but um, you know,
yeah.
I think
I
it'd be
honestly
funny
wouldn't
to.
even
I
mind
think it'd
that.
be
I
funny.
feel
It'd
like
be
that'd be
like
kind of hilarious.
the
I've always
whole
thought to
league
myself,
shows
yeah,
up
I
and
could
is sitting
probably
in
be
the
on
crowd, and you have
SNL,
one dude go up.
pretty
Like
funny.
that'd be
So, I don't
amazing.
know.
Charlie, imagine you up there. Like it'd be funny to watch like Jordan be up there, like from our perspective, but like yeah, but like honestly, if I
Just
was up
because
there,
he's just a
like
doofus
that's a
who like
no-go for me. I mean, it
drafts
would be
like
fun to do as
people
the
that tore
punishment
their
because
ACL
like
like
I'm
an
not
hour
losing the
earlier.
league to do that, but
So out of those three, which one's the worst?
Pepper maybe. I don't know, but I'm being completely honest.
Oh,
Okay,
the
so like
pepper's got to be the
I
easiest.
I'm
think
kind of darker complected. I think I'd look fine with the
yeah,
spray tan.
Pepper,
And dude,
dude, that
pepper is
thing
just like
freaking
that's
is
painful,
fire.
man. Like
You're in pain for 20 minutes.
I know, but dude, he
I see. I think that would
yeah,
be
but he was
fine.
like throwing up and like had like
Just
massive like
embarrassing yourself
diarrhea
at
for
a
like a couple
stand-up,
days, you know.
open mic or couple of days of spray tan, like
To
going
be
out in
fair,
public. That would be horrible.
spray tan does kind of rub off. So if you really wanted to be like that prick and just like scrub it off when you get home, you could kind of do that, but
Yeah, but
it's not as fun. And yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do that either. I don't know how I look in a spray tan. So
yeah. Well, I thought that was kind of an interesting little segment to end on. I think our next podcast, we're still coming up with ideas because we just haven't been able to record anything. But I think our next
Yeah.
podcast, we wanted to do an MJ doc one. Right. Yeah, the audio, and we didn't feel like recording.
We
and,
recorded reactions to the first
anyway,
2 episodes, but that just the audio just went.
It was a
toast,
whole mess. So I think for our next show, we'll probably wait.
We're trying to figure
for
out like
the
video
MJ doc
and
to finish,
I mean, we're learning all
and
this
then
stuff as we go. So
do just like a recap of the whole entire thing, and probably devote an entire podcast to that. So stay tuned for that, and stay safe out there.
Yeah. And stay safe. Another thing, just quick last thing, is that Evan and I might be doing like a quick 30-minute review of the Netflix show Outer Banks, which I know is halfway stupid, but it's just about a bunch of teenagers and
from like the billion users that are on
So
TikTok,
we're probably gonna
you get on and you
on
scroll and
TikTok
it's like your
left and
feed
right,
is just
so we're probably gonna
it's
cover
literally
that in,
like Outer
a
Banks,
30-minute pod.
GTA. I don't even know what, but Outer Banks is on there a significant amount for sure. So
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah, and it's the number one show on Netflix right now. So Evan and I have some thoughts because it has some
Yeah,
major.
I was gonna say I have no input on that show,
John
but
B. Everyone in the town
stay
calls him
tuned
by his middle initial. Okay, we'll get to it in the next.
Stay tuned for their episode on Outer Banks, and also stay tuned for a recap
you're
of
a
the
grown
entire
man. You have
MJ
a
doc.
job.
So, all right, thanks for listening.
Yep, stay safe.